Gil.
Gil, Pastor Paul Begley, we're live on the air. How are you?
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
I'm doing great, doing great. Oh, we're just so glad you're with us today. We have a great crowd of folks that are here and very, very much anticipating this broadcast, this show today. There's so much going on, and so we're so glad to have you.
Did you get my emails on the data I sent you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, I have in front of me all of your graphics. Okay.
Okay, great.
So we're ready to start on this. Anytime you're ready here, I need the very first one you have here. First of all, let's sum it up this way, folks. Gil Brazard is an astronomer, and he's been studying for years the planet 7X, the theory of that, of course, Planet X, Nibiru, different names people use, dwarf star, there's all kinds of names are used. NASA, this week, we found out that NASA in 1983 had held a press conference in which two NASA scientists said they had discovered a planet on the edge of our solar system, a planet that they called Planet X. These were two scientists, and they made this announcement. It's 1983, the Washington Post. I've read the article this week. Now, last Friday, there was scientists in Chile with superpower telescopes confirmed twice of two different planets that they say was, again, on the edge of our solar system in the constellation of Orion. It's the same place that in 1983 that the two NASA scientists said they saw this huge planet, larger than Jupiter, on the edge of our solar system that they called Planet X. But in 1992 or so, when the lead scientist of NASA died, we never heard NASA ever talk about Planet X again. Well, Gil Brazard has studied historical data from the Chinese and from the Europeans and has overlaid their findings of things they've seen in the sky and sights and signs, and has overlaid it with biblical historical data of events that happened in the Bible and have matched them that something definitely happened. The question is what caused it. He has been working and calculating relentlessly, and we look forward to hearing his information. I know Gil has also been saying that we may see Planet 7X by the spring of next year, but if we're going to see it, we may be able to start seeing it in December of this year. So we want to get caught up to where you left us off with that, Gil, and we'll let you take it from there as it relates to. Let's ask the first question about 1983 and NASA saying they saw Planet X in 1983. What's your take on that?
Well, we had Dr. Harrington that earlier than that gave a scientific report. I have a copy of that.
Okay.
There is a person out there whose initials are MM that are misquoting the scientific paper. He's going out there telling the public that he had agreed with Dr. Stitchin's 3,600 years. And you can go see an interview that Stitchin did with Robert Harrington on my YouTube channel, Planet 7X, where I point out exactly where he's stating this.
Of a celestial body which you, I think, named in that paper an intruder,
Yes.
which may have collided with or somehow turned on their side both Uranus and Pluto.
It did a lot more than that, as a matter of fact. In that paper, we hypothesized that this intruder passed very close to Neptune, that it dislodged one of what we then think were many satellites of Neptune, and one of them became the planet Pluto. We actually think Pluto was an escaped satellite of Neptune. This will also take the orbit of Triton, the big satellite of Neptune, and reverse it. We'll take the orbit of the satellite Nereid and extend it outwards. we can produce all of the observed aspects of the satellite system of Neptune plus Pluto's orbit just with this one single intruding planet.
I think, Dr. Harrington, you have a pretty good picture, at least in your own mind, of what we are talking about, a big planet, a small planet.
Well, if it is in the kind of orbit that we describe here, it would have to be a planet that would have a mass something like 3 to 5 times the mass of the Earth. This would put it intermediate between the gaseous planets like Uranus and Neptune and the terrestrial planets that we have in the inner part of the solar system. So if this planet turns out to be in a 3,600-year orbit, then its mass will be correspondingly larger. But we're talking about something it's a perfectly reasonable kind of planet. It looks like a good, nice planet, small enough that it's not going to be completely enveloped in gas, so it's perfectly capable of supporting life forms of one kind.
And what he's exactly stating, he's stating that it cannot be 3,600 years because it would have to be many times larger than Jupiter, and that the object that he's talking about is closer to 6 times the diameter of Earth. And in his white paper report, which the same person with the initials MM points out, that he claims is in his report that he says Dr. Harrington is giving 3,600 years. In the report, he says 1,100 years. Okay? Approximately.
Okay.
Okay? This was some guidelines that they're using to try to find it. Guidelines, you have to start somewhere. They're not factual until you have some more data or even a sighting. So Dr. Harrington was pretty much the closest and the one that brought it to the front page with real something with close to real data as he got, and if you look at also at Dr. Stitchin's, he uses a clay tablet where he says this is planets and such, and that the way the king was drawn so large compared to the other people, that obviously the king motif on the cultures of that time period. Clay tablet that he's showing that he claims are planets is actually the sun in the eclipse mode, and that's stars, not planets. You can look at the similar thing called the Nibiru sky disk, where it's much clearer. And it shows that almost the exact same pattern of stars with the sun in the eclipse mode. So there's more than one way of looking at Stitchin's data. And other scholars do not qualify Stitchin's work. But Stitchin is the first one, pretty much, that brought this planet into the limelight of the people. We got to give him credit for that.
All right. What year? What year did he bring it? What year was that?
I'd have to look up. I know Dr. Harrington died in 1993.
Okay.
The Voyager and Pioneer probe of NASA, according to my data, most likely made instrument contact with the object in 1992 of December, because after that point they went silent.
Because in 1983, the two scientists of NASA was Baumgartner and Hawk, and they're the ones that said they discovered Planet X, what they call Planet X, on the right on the edges of our solar system, in the constellation of Orion. So, are you saying Sketchings was ahead of them? That he was before their discovery?
Well, the thing is that this object causes an anomaly on opposite sides of the universe. That's why they sent the first two probes opposite of each other, 180 degrees apart.
Okay.
And then they noticed that one satellite was picking up speed and one was slowing down. The one going to, Orion was slowing down. That meant it's not in that direction. The one going to Sagittarius is speeding up.
Okay.
That means gravity's pulling it towards there. So that answered that there were two anomalies. Okay. That's what the these observers were noticing that there was anomalies in the orbits of planets that were perturbed, warped by unknown, they call it gravity, but actually now we know it's unknown magnetic forces. Gravity is the weaker force. The magnetic forces are much, much stronger, many magnitudes greater.
Matter of fact, that's
And
we had Mike.
Electric universe.
Right, we had Mike around the world on Tuesday, and that's exactly what he said. That gravity is not what holds everything together. Gravity is does keep us on the ground, but it's not gravity that's holding everything together. That's a more of a magnetic force, which is what you're saying. We now know that.
Correct. If we were to take the same stories of the biblical and use the astronomy model 15 years ago with a gravity ruled universe, none of our models would have worked.
Right.
Pertaining to the biblical stories. But using a magnetic universe, we have an exact match. And we can answer 14 instances in the Bible that proves out in models. And that happens to match the same model as the Chinese. This is the same model we're taking, that same overlay, and applying it to these stories. We have an object that comes in at the end of August or beginning of September, circles the sun, and exits in the month of Passover. Whether it's March or April, we will find out soon. But
when you say that, when you say we'll find
pattern.
When you say we're going to find out soon, I think you and I talked before, and about this is the third or fourth time that we've talked in the last year, kind of keeping an eye on what you've been talking about. And your YouTube channel, folks, Gil's YouTube channel is Planet 7X. You can check it out. He's got some great videos there, very interesting information there. And you said that if we may start to see this thing in December. So, and there's been a lot of people, two sun dogs, a lot of different things people have seen with their cameras, and there's been reflections, there's been a lot of different things, and there's been some folks doing hoaxes and different things. But at the end of the day, Gil, have we seen anything other than what these team of scientists in Chile seen with these superpower telescopes? Has there been anything else seen that could say that Planet 7X is out there or is going to be going by next March or April? Have we seen anything yet?
Keep in mind that they didn't see this object yet. It's like a radar image, per se. They have yet to focus a telescope on it to find it.
I agree.
And from what I've read so far, whether or not the articles that I read were correct or not. And they're not exactly sure on the distance, whether or not it's a large object very far out or a small object very close. Right. They've made an estimate that they think it's 1.5 times the diameter of Earth. But
we don't know
from the article that I read, they were unsure of it at the moment.
Right. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at your. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Gil.
Well, from the data that they gave us on the distance on where they were estimating it, put it around Uranus, at the typical speed, maximum speed that the sun can drag an object to you. That meant it's at least 10 to 12 years away, so that's not our object.
So you're saying what these guys saw in Chile on these objects that they saw, infrared, okay, haven't focused the telescope on it, but they do have infrared. Two are coming in this direction. Right. Okay. Let's pick up
the data from the Chinese gives us the orbital path. It mirrors the biblical accounts of 14 incidences. It has to come in from a certain constellation. It has to come in from Sagittarius. This is not viewed in the Sagittarius region, and it doesn't seem to be on the planetary plane of Earth. It might be, but I don't think it is.
Okay, let's say if it is
nothing to worry about.
If it is, it's still 10 to 12 years out there. If it is, and it may not even be. And then to your point is, so it's not in the theory that you've been working this whole time, it's not what you're been looking for. It's not coming from the right direction, and it's not at the right time, years, or timing.
They had mentioned a velocity of over 2 million miles per hour, which I find kind of mysterious. You can, and why visually is just one of the ways that we rely on that object gets there. Look at the volcanic activity and the earthquakes. They're outrageous. They're in an exponential rise.
Right.
That if you look at all the other indicators, we have a problem. These are exactly the signs that we would see as an inbound body. We have perturbations of planets and comets. Those are recent reports. Something is warping the orbits of comets, and that can only be a planetary body. And the planet's on the opposite side of Earth.
All right.
Where these comets are being warped at.
All right, Gil, hang on a second.
What is it?
Gil, you've got some these graphics here. Let's walk us through here this presentation.
If you look at page 11 there that I showed you, it shows you how they can block our view. This is laboratory tests showing how they can cloak an object that's right in front of you by bending the light around an object. And it shows a person's hand where it looks as if there's a hole in a person's hand or a pencil in front of this laser, and you can't see the section that's in front of it because it's bending the light around and capturing the view behind it and portraying it in front of it. And this is done today, and our government thought it's 30 to 50 years ahead of this.
So let me ask you.
So it's quite easy.
So you're saying that even if Planet 7X is in view right now, let's say it could be viewed right now, that the United States government can use this new technology to show you what's behind. It's like putting my hand up, and yet they have the technology right now to bend light to see what's behind my hand, and then to put that in front of my hand, and so my hand becomes invisible. So you're saying they have the ability to bend light, and so when people look up through telescope or look up through the lenses there, it don't show the object. But the stars are all in the right spot, the constellations are correct, and it looks like there's nothing there, but it could actually be there because that technology does exist right now.
Yes, if you look at our bonus 2 video, we showed multiple technologies. The one that's most applicable in space environment would be the lasers. You can put these lasers on satellites, and you can use solar sails as reflectors, and you can actually bend the light where once it comes around to our view that you cannot see an object. Now, are they actually doing this? The only thing I can say is I've talked to high-level engineers and scientists working with the government that when I asked them that basic question, does technology exist to block our view? They gave me one short answer, yes. But they would not expound how.
No, they didn't want to share. They don't want to share with you.
The laboratory tests showed it.
Right, they do not want it. The government's not going to tell you, Gil, or anybody else how they have this technology and how it works. They're only confirming that they have the ability, folks, to bend light so that it looks like the object is not there, and what you're seeing is what's behind the object. And so that is correct. That's what's behind the object, but they can do it so that it bend the light so it looks like the object's not there. And so the government confirmed that with you. They have that technology.
The card that they will play out before they will allow us to see it is you'll see some form of emergency that they will implement Homeland Security or martial law on the people.
So
you have a bank bail-in and rationing of fuel and food.
Strong delusion.
Those 3 things.
Strong delusion, Gil. I mean, This is what the Bible said. There would be this new world order at the end here would start bringing a strong delusion. People would believe a lie and be damned. This is how they will convince people to go ahead and take the mark of the beast, because they will bring them a strong delusion. They will be able to deceive them with technology and to cause them to damn their own souls. And so what you're saying is that this type of technology that could bring a...
The government has, in multiple fields, technology that's 30 to 50 years ahead of us right now in the public realm.
Wow.
These videos I'm showing is what's in the public realm.
Right.
They're doing this in the public realm right now. The video that I'm showing you, this is a snapshot.
Yes.
And it shows what's presently being done in laboratories. Well, you just scale it up and you can do this.
Yes.
They have space-based lasers. They already have that.
Yes.
So it's not hard for them to do this type of...
the video Gil is talking about, folks, he's talking about the video Bonus 2. It's on his YouTube channel called Planet 7X. So you can watch this video after the broadcast. He will show you in that video. It's called Bonus 2. That's the video. He put it up not long ago. And you'll be able to watch that video, and it will show you the technology that has the ability to make things look invisible when they're not. And they can do this for weaponry here on Earth, but they can definitely use it in the sky. We all know about Project Bluebeam. We know there's all types of ways to manipulate things. And so what they're showing you, what Gil shows you in the video Bonus 2, is technology that's 30 to 50 years old. In other words, they are 30 to 50 years ahead of that right now. So believe me, they can bring a strong delusion. They could hide an asteroid headed right for the Earth is going. Read your Bible. The Bible says there's going to be, it's like a mountain in Revelation 8:8. It's like a mountain burning. It will hit the earth with such force, it will kill a third of everything here. And right now, our government has the ability to hide. If that thing was coming, and if it was actually on its way and was destined to hit the earth next March, they have not shared it with you. They have hid it, and you wouldn't know it. That you would not even know it right now, and that could be the case. I'm not saying it is, but I'm telling you that's the technology. They can hide what is coming, and at some point, men will find it out, and that's where Jesus said there'll be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Men's hearts will fail them for fear of what's coming on the earth. Fear. Why? Because something they'll see that will be so impossible to stop, they will just fall over dead in their fear. That's those who aren't ready. That's not me or you, okay? That's not me or you. Gil, let's go into this. You've got to show us here. We've got these graphics. Tell us what this first one is. What looks like the Hezekiah seal, maybe. Let me just hold it up here. What are we looking at here, Gil?
Well, remember Hezekiah and Jonah? They were in the same time period. Remember Yeshua said the only sign that a wicked and adulterous generation will have was the sign of Jonah.
Yes.
40-day warning. So that's alluding that the majority of the earth would not have a warning at 40 days. That would be the majority. But I think his people will have a warning slightly above that because they're paying attention.
Right.
But the rest of the world will be waiting for the government to announce to them that this is a real object. Now, this seal was found, and it has on it where the inscription says, belonging to Hezekiah, son of Asher, king of Judah. And if you look at it carefully, it shows a winged disc in the center of it.
I see that.
All right. Remember how I showed you on page 3 of the graphic where I showed the shadow went backward, how Earth tilted 26 to 28 degrees, just like the Nibiru disc of Joseph of Egypt. It shows that Earth tilted 23 to 26 degrees. I can prove Earth tilted 4 times in its history now. And in Hezekiah's seal, he was given 15 more years to live. On his seal, he put this winged disc. The wings just show movement or flight in the sky, the disc showing our planet, that it was significant, and it changed the calendars to 360, 365 and a quarter days. So that's additional confirmation of what I was telling you, that this planet passed during Hezekiah and Jonah's time period.
And here's the, so that's the seal. That seal has just been discovered not long ago, the Hezekiah seal with this winged-looking object. And here's what Gil's talking about with this, that the earth actually tilted on its axis. Is that what you're saying, Gil? That's what made Hezekiah's sundial, or we call it Hezekiah's sundial, but it was actually when he looked through that window that the sun actually moved 10 steps backwards, which is impossible, folks.
Yes, and in the Hebrew, it actually literally says steps. It doesn't say a sundial.
Right.
So if the steps are facing north and south, and a window with the shadow of the sun causing the sun rays and the shadow of the window, for that to move exactly 10 steps, the earth would have to tilt 26 to 28 degrees. The calculations work out.
Now, let me
proves out.
Let me help people just in layman's terms. There are folks saying, I don't get the point. Here's the point. It's impossible for the sun to move backwards unless the earth shifted. And in the Bible, the sun, the reflection, I should say, the shadow of the sun, when Bible, it was a significant sign. And Gil, why did the earth tilt, in your opinion?
Because the object came within midway between the moon and the earth again. This has happened 4 times in its past. And the magnetic attraction between the north and south pole causes the two objects to tilt. It takes about 6 hours for Earth to tilt, and another 6 hours for it to go back to its normal position.
So the only thing you're saying that could cause the earth to do that would have to be an object going by so big and so powerful that it would tilt the earth.
You see, this object can either pass to the right or to the left of Earth.
Right.
If it passes to the left of Earth, Earth does not slow down in its rotation. It only tilts. If it passes to the right of us, then Earth passes through the plasma tail that shuts down the energy going into the north and south pole like it did during Joshua's long day.
Okay.
And Earth will slow down 4.5 to 5.5%, compounded hourly till it comes to a stop within 24 to 28 hours. And you have an extended day of 12 hours. And then there was a meteor shower right after that on Joshua's battle where it only hit the enemy soldiers. There was no meteor shower for Hezekiah, so it came to the left of us, causing only a tilt.
Okay, so
5 months later, when Earth passed through the second debris trail, that's when the 185,000 soldiers died of Assyria.
Right.
That was poised to attack Jerusalem. That's how they got but it says it happened at night. You see, the meteor shower in March is in the daytime. The meteor shower at the end of August is in the nighttime. They're opposite.
Okay, so folks,
the path of the debris.
So what you're saying is, when this planet 7X went by the Earth the first time, during Hezekiah's time, it tilted the Earth enough that the sundial, that the sun's reflection, the sun's shadow that came through the window there, went back 10 steps, which is an absolute major sign to the King Hezekiah. Then the earth had to settle back in. It took several hours for it to happen. Then 150 days later, or whatever it is, whenever you go back through the debris field, not then, but the next time that Planet X comes by, during Joshua's longest day, folks, you have to understand, the sun stayed up for 24 hours and did not go down. That's impossible. The only way the sun would stay up there would mean the earth had to move and flow with the sun and not let the sun go down. So, and that happened. It's in your Bible. And what Gil is saying is the only way that could happen is for the planet 7X to have passed by the Earth on the other side, which means it had made another orbit. So this orbiting of this planet 7X, it's like an oblong orbiting. It comes in, and that's why it's not a consistent exactly 333 years. It could be 319 years. It could be 384 years. It's in that ballpark as it swings by, but it's coming at an oblong orbit. Is that correct, Gil?
Correct. It has a erratic orbit because there's too many things that are influencing its orbital speed, because it can run into moons or other planets. That's why Ceres was destroyed. That's why we had 3 days of darkness during the Exodus instead of during Yeshua's sacrifice. We only had 3 hours of darkness during
crucifixion,
during the eclipse.
Now, question. Wait.
Anytime you see in the Bible a double eclipse, that can't be done in the natural.
Right.
It has to involve a third object.
Okay. Now, having said that, you're saying that planet 7X could have caused Hezekiah's sun to go back 10 steps. That planet X could have came by and caused Joshua's longest day. You're saying that planet X could have been the reason that we had 3 days of darkness during one of the plagues of Egypt during the Exodus, the time of Moses, before he could get the children of Israel out of Egypt. And you're saying that planet 7X, also coming by again, but coming by on the other side, could have created a double eclipse, which could have caused the earth to go dark for 3 hours when Christ was on the cross. And you went back and checked that against statistical information or recorded data by ancient civilizations in China and other places, and they confirmed something was going on in the sky during the exact same times of those 4 major biblical events. So it's not just a theory here. You're basing your theory of 7X on factual biblical accounts. And scientifically, as an astronomer, you're saying, and it is doable, Paul, and here's how it's doable. If there is an object that keeps making its way around toward this earth, it always keeps, and each time it creates something. Like in Jonah's day, it created a sign in the heavens for 40 days. Jonah preached, hey, look at the sign. Nineveh, you're going to be destroyed in 40 days. Okay, so each time you're saying this planet 7X could create those events.
Well, Paul, let me quote a famous astrophysicist,
okay,
Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, it means it's following the orbital mechanics, Kepler's law of the planetary motion, and every other rule that we found provable. We have the model because of the Asian astronomers, the Chinese, the Korean, and the Japanese astronomers of segment of this orbit that gives us a elliptical path. This same object, when we overlay it into the 14 biblical accounts, these eyewitness accounts, we can build a model that follows the exact storyline. How Earth has slowed down, how the shadow went backwards. How do you get a 3-hour eclipse during Yeshua's sacrifice? How do you get 3 days of darkness during the Exodus? And so on and so on.
14.
We have a model for
14 biblical accounts. You have a model that matches how each thing could happen. And scientifically, it is proven it could have happened. There has to be an object. God is using some type of an object, some type of a planet or something dark, something that can swing by and can create and can affect the earth in a way to create these 14 different biblical accounts. Go ahead.
We have a Nibiru sky disk. Remember, this is just not also in the Bible. It's not only also in the Chinese. We have artifacts like the Nibiru sky disk. It's made in Germany. It proves out the Earth tilted 26 to 28 degrees, and with the star pattern it gives us the exact date, and that date lines up mid of the drought of Joseph of Egypt. Wow. Remember when Joseph had a dream at age 16? the stars, the sky, and the moon bow to him?
Yes, I do.
That word sun is actually illuminated body because you can't see the stars out when the sun is out. So just like in Greek, helios simply means illuminated body. It doesn't necessarily mean the sun. Well, that was age 16. At age 40, the skies did prove it the sky. Because your viewpoint from Earth would be the skies bowing. And the illuminated object is our comet-like planet. And so unless people would like to say that the ancient German civilizations conspired with the Egyptian and the biblical accounts,
Right.
but yet they didn't know each other yet.
No, they didn't know each other. They couldn't have conspired. All right, Gil, just because of time reasons, I got to move this along a little. Now that you've built a case that there's been 14 biblical accounts that could be scientifically proven that a planet of some sort on some type of orbit has affected the Earth 14 times, and you can match it with biblical accounts, and it makes sense. Now we're talking about the 6th and 7th seal. I've heard you talk about before in the book of Revelation. Something has to cause a mountain burning like a lamp to hit the Earth. Is it a asteroid that's racing toward us, has nothing to do with planet 7X? Or could planet 7X be going to be going by, bringing a debris trail that could cause Earth to enter into that debris trail and have a cataclysmic collision? Now, that's what people want to know listening right now. That's why people are here right now listening. My question is where are you at with it now? I think you told me you believed scientifically everything you studied, don't have a crystal ball, but somewhere within an 8-year window, we should be having this event. And that this year seemed like to be the year that we would start to see it, and we would have some kind of an encounter next March or April in the spring. Where are you with that right now? How do you feel about that, or what is your take on it?
We're on the edge because we can see possible economic collapse with the Seal 4 just about to happen, and there's a Middle East war brewing.
All right, now wait a minute.
We may not see it we may or may not see it at the end of December, but if not, then I would be looking for it in January because we're not that far off. But we have to see Seal 3, 4, and 5 happen.
Right.
3 is economic collapse, 4 is a war, and 3 is, Seal 5 is a peace agreement involving Israel in it, and that may happen January 15th. If this date is correct. And I also wanted to point out to you.
Okay.
You can go ahead, Paul.
Well, I was going to say, if the date is correct, the 3 things, what you're saying is in the Bible, there's 7 seals. You're saying seal number 3 would be an economic collapse. Seal number 4 is a Middle East war. Seal number 5 is a peace agreement involving Israel, and it has to involve the whole world pretty well. And you're saying that if those 3 things happen, those are 3, 4, and 5, and that could happen, you're saying, here in the next not very short. And the reason you say these things could happen, Gil, is it because man knows what's coming? Or is it because it's just the biblical prophecies that are leading us to seal 6 and 7?
The biblical prophecies are reading more like a newspaper on a day-to-day event.
Right.
There's only one person that can tell time ahead of, and that is the Father. And he gave it to Yeshua to give to John.
Yes.
To write this book. There's no way that they could have guessed it. Just like Revelation 12:1, where he gives us that date, the way they wrote it could come from the Father to be placed in that text. It's impossible. So you have to know the orbital mechanics.
All right, now, Gil, if for some reason that it isn't this December, it isn't this January, but that we're close, but we're off a little. What is your take? Could it be off just 1 year? Could we be right back in this situation next year, or is it more like 5 years if we're off a little right now? I mean, can you help me with that?
Well, the Bible clearly says that for a wicked and adulterous generation, we have only a sign of Jonah as a warning, which is 40 days. If March 26th is the date, then the Bible says it qualifies that the earth would see it 40 days early. That's around February 15th.
Okay.
I think that's only for the adulterous and wicked, not his people. I'm a firm believer that possibly we'll see it a month or so earlier than that.
That'd be January.
I was giving an estimate for December, and I'm close, I believe.
Okay,
we may have to go into January before we would see it.
Okay, so let's go. Let's just say. So you're saying, look, it could be that we will actually start to see this sign, the sign of Jonah, the sign of planet 7X. Maybe we will see it sometime in mid-January, anytime between now and mid-January. And if we do, you'll get a real naked eye view of it probably by February 15th, leading us to the March 26th date. If this is the year that the calculations have come together.
Yeah.
And that's
these are the signs that Yeshua said. You will see a sign in the heaven, and earthquakes will rise like the pains of a woman giving birth. We have both of those.
Yeah. Oh, there's no disagreement. I have no there's nobody can disagree with the fact that the Bible's prophecies of what would be happening in the end times in Matthew 24, in Luke 21, Mark 13, we can see wars, rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdoms, famines, pestilence, earthquakes, dire places, persecution of Christians going on all over the world. We can see that we're living in the fig tree generation. I mean, I don't think anyone that studies the scriptures know that we got it. We're in the ballpark. We're in the season. We're definitely in the season. So the question is now, if that's the case and we're seeing things come together, could it be that these seals will start breaking here in the next few months, or could it be another 7 years from now before they start breaking? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah. Any economist would tell you that it's nearly impossible for this economy to stand for that long. The vast majority of economists right now are shaking their heads right now. They don't understand why it's still up right now. I don't think we can go another year.
Okay.
And I wanted to show you something before we exit out. That's some new evidence.
Okay.
That I found in Mauritania, Africa. There's a mountain range which was dissolved away. There's a crater that they first thought was a meteor crater. But they came back and said, no, it isn't, because there's no signature of consite, which is a crystalline form when a crater explodes. That this is not a meteor crater.
Is this the pictures you have here? Are we starting with this picture
correct.
here? Okay.
Right. This is a plasma discharge crater. Plasma discharge forms a flat area crater, and it dissolves mountains. This is about 300 foot deep.
Now, you're saying
right here in about 25 to 30 miles across.
Now, you're saying, Gil, that this crater is actually in Africa. That this is the location where it hit. Something hit there.
Yes. A lightning bolt. This is the plasma discharge. Remember when Comet Siding Springs passed near Mars recently?
Yes, I do.
We have a picture that's page 4. It shows when Comet Siding, which is a small little comet, it lit up Mars. Okay?
Okay, I got it. This is actual.
That showed a plasma discharge between the comet and Mars. Well, for this planet, 7X, I call it, for it to pass between the moon and the Earth, there had to have been a discharge when Earth went through its tail, or whenever it got near enough. We have a crater that signifies that. We can see the same type of craters on the moon. If you look on page 10, you can see plasma craters, which the physicists have identified on Venus, Mars, and the moon. Well, these three planets, planet 7X passes near them. and it made electrical discharge craters on them also, because they're not concave, they're flat bottom. And that's the difference between a meteor crater and a plasma
I got it. So a plasma discharge crater.
discharge crater.
A plasma crater, a crater from a meteorite will literally create a crater that goes down into the earth, and it's quite obviously that something hit the earth that with matter, if you will. So there's a different residue. It leaves a different shape. This is a flat crater compared to a deep crater, which means this was not a crater from a flying asteroid meteorite. This was a crater from a plasma discharge. And you're saying that the same thing happened on the moon when comet sliding spring went by Mars. Excuse me, when it went by Mars, there was an explosion there. It's because it was a plasma discharge. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and
Correct.
so I mean,
and this crater, because they cannot explain it, because they don't have the item that would, scientists cause and effect. Well, we're already proven we have a planet that comes around here. Now, where is the effects of a plasma discharge? I found it. It's in Africa, right? That's 25 to 30 miles across. That's a lightning bolt that hit the Earth between the two planets.
now here's
And, we are going to see this again.
Here's the plasma crater on Mars that Gil's talking about. When the comet sliding spring went by Mars, it released a plasma crater, a plasma charge. It created this crater. This is actual pictures from Mars of a crater. And the crater was caused by a plasma discharge. What Gil is saying is, in Africa, we have almost an identical plasma crater that looks just like the one that was on Mars, which means something went by that could release the same plasma discharge. And if that's the case, and we know that planet 7X, according to Gil, if his theory's correct, went by and caused 14 biblical events. If this just happened, which we got videotape of it, folks. As a matter of fact, he's got a still picture. I'm going to show it to you again. And I'm just trying to help everyone understand what...
I'm in the wrong house.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Are you still there, Gil? I hear you. Okay.
You not sure,
Somebody here?
You not sure?
Yes, I'm sorry, I have to answer the door.
Okay, go ahead while I get the picture of the moon here. Mars, this explosion here, and I have it. Right here it is. All right, so what Gil is saying is this same crater in Africa created by something that went by the Earth and released a plasma discharge. That same crater is on Mars that just in the last year, that something went by Mars and released a plasma crater exactly like the one in Africa. Well, here's what we know was going by Mars then. The comet sliding spring. And this is actual still shots of, there's Mars, and there's the sliding spring going by. And then there's Mars as the sliding spring gets this close and releases a charge. This is the actual footage. This is the still picture of what it looked like as that comet went by. So his point is this: if this has already happened, if this has happened about a year ago, is this planet on its way toward the Earth right now? And does NASA know it? Does our governments of the world know it? Are they hiding it from us with this bending the light technology? Or is it just they don't know it, and it's about to happen anyway? And what does that mean? Or,
Whenever they view the bonus 2 video, or bonus 1, whichever.
I think it's bonus 2.
We actually show the video of this plasma discharge, the video of Mars and comet sliding springs effects. And I sent you the video for you to take a look at as well.
Is it on?
I know a lot of people out there are having difficulty helping to convince family members that that the Bible is real and that this event that's fixing to occur on Earth is going to be real. So we had a professional producer of a film produce a video, and that helps break the ice. It doesn't explain everything, but it helps break the ice to a family member.
And did you send that to me? Did you send that to me, Gil, in my emails?
Yes.
Okay, because
yes. No,
what?
I have sent. I sent you the DVD, and
it's in the mail.
Yes.
Okay.
You should have had it already. They can go to my webpage, planet7x.net, and they can either download it or order the video. We have a 2-for-1 sale for the holidays.
Okay.
For people to give it to their pastors or give it to their other friends that need to know this. The rest of the videos to get educated on this is all free on my YouTube channel, Planet7X.
Okay.
And they can see the stories of the Bible. But it helps. It's the video to break the ice and explain it, where it opens the door for people to talk to people about it.
And you know, I want to say this, folks. That Gil is saying is that we understand there were 14 major events in the Bible historically that we already know has happened. We don't have to try to explain it to people because it already took place. The problem we have when you're talking the end days is trying to explain to people what we just read to you today, the breaking of these 6th and 7th seals, when things are going to hit the earth. Even though Jesus said it was going to happen, as I've quoted 1,000,000 times in the Gospels, even though John saw it in the book of Revelation, it's tough to try to explain that to family members who don't even believe maybe that the world's ever going to come to an end. This is, they don't understand, they don't believe. And so what Gil is trying to do is trying to help people understand that the Bible, and he's not predicting the day nor the hour. He's not predicting the day or the hour. He is scientifically analyzing what could possibly happen. But what he is saying is the events that the Bible prophesies to happen in Revelation is provable and is going to happen. We can prove it. We know it's going to. It's not a fairy tale. The book of Revelation is not something you throw throw it aside, say, I don't worry about it. It is going to happen, and they need to know it is, and they need to give their lives to Jesus Christ, to Yeshua, to give their life to Christ, because we are living in the last days. And as Gil says, we may be living in the very, very last days as time is running out. It may be sooner than any of us really understand or know. And that's what you're saying, right, Gil?
Yes, but you remember in Revelation when it says the 4 angels hold back the wind?
Yes, well, I read that today.
The only way for the winds to be held back is if the rotation of the earth is stopped.
Let me read that.
Just like Joshua's long day.
Let me read that, Gil. It's Revelation 7. It's in between the 6th and 7th seals. It says these words, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Now, folks, that is impossible. The wind is always moving right now. It does not stop unless God says, I want to stop it, and he stops it by using something. And what Gil is saying is it is scientifically possible that if Planet 7X goes by, it could cause the wind to stop for a period of time, whatever that is.
When Earth is entering the plasma tail, we will start to slow down. 4.5 to 5.5% compounded hourly for the next 24 to 28 hours. And you have Earth stopping at that time period. You also have a 12-hour delay in Earth's rotation. You have 12 extra hours of night on the Jerusalem side and 12 extra hours of daylight on North and South America side. Remember where it says in the Bible, it says, I shall turn the day into darkness and night into day.
It says that.
It tells you, it tells you, and remember where he says he comes mid of night.
Yep.
Not midnight, but mid of night, mid of a 24-hour period. That meant Jerusalem is on the nighttime side.
Wow.
And the the scientists are going to get this wrong because they don't have a model that shows the Earth slowing down by 12 hours. We only have a biblical model, and they're not going to advertise that in public.
No, and they're not going to believe the biblical model. They're not going to believe the biblical model, but scientifically, the biblical model can happen. There is a scientific way for it to happen. The greatest scientist, folks, of all time is the Creator himself. He is the master mathematician. He is the greatest physicist. He is the greatest, scientist there is. He created everything from nothing. You have to understand. Gil, I got to let you go. Again, your YouTube channel is Planet 7X. And again, where's your website at again?
Planet7x.net.
Planet7x.net. That is real easy. Planet7x.net. Gil, going to have you back on here again as we continue to watch this here in the next few months here as we're closing in on that March 26th date. We should know more about it. You're saying maybe mid-January, mid-February, we may know a lot more about whether or not this is the year that, in your theory, the Planet 7X theory, that we may be seeing this planet with the naked eye.
We need to be attentive and look. We know what to look for now. This is a sign of Jonah.
Yep.
And his people who are attentive will see it before the government announces it.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on, Gil. I really do. It's fascinating stuff. Great stuff. Great work you do. Tremendous work you do. I respect it greatly.
Thank you, Paul. And it's been a pleasure on your show.
Amen. Praise God. Thank you, Gil. And so again, folks, you have to, Gil's not saying this is the year. He believes strongly that this has a high probability of being the year. And that's why he looks at the economic collapse. He looks at the Middle East chaos. Look at the chaos in Iraq and Syria. Look at really, we're on the brink of World War III with Turkey and Russia and Ukraine, and the United States backing out, and the inconsistencies of the Obama administration, the Arab Spring 4 years ago. Look at the economy. Look at the volatility of the currencies of the world. And you hear world leaders talking about a new world order, a one world government, a one world currency. I mean, literally, folks, and look at the cultural breakdown of the world. Our cultures are collapsing. And look at ISIS, how they're not just running around in the land of the Babylon, in the Babylon prophecy, but this is like a mold. It's like an infection. It's spreading the world. It's destroying. It's putting fear in America, in the Western nations, in Europe, France, Germany, England, Australia, everywhere, Canada. People are afraid of this growing thing called ISIS, this radical Islamic jihadists. Yet we have world leaders that won't even mention it, won't even say the word. I mean, it's insane what we're witnessing. And we got Israel being completely surrounded by armies, which Jesus said would happen in the Bible in Luke 21 when he says, when you see Jerusalem compassed about with armies, know that the desolation thereof is nigh. For these are the days of vengeance. I mean, I don't know what else to say. But is this the year Planet 7X? This is Gil's term, Planet 7X. Is this the year that swings by? Is it about ready to happen, or is it another year away? Is it another 7 years away? Is it another 17 years away? I don't know. I can say this, the things that this Bible says is going to happen is going to happen. I can't myself scientifically figure out what makes it happen. I'm getting a better feel of it. I mean, I'm very interested in this stuff, but at the same time, I don't know if that's what makes it happen. But I know it's going to happen, and I can see the signs leading up to it happening. And so I'm not a skeptic on whether the Bible will come to pass. I'm a total believer in the Word of God coming to pass. I absolutely know it's coming to pass, and it may happen, and guys like Gil Brazard may have figured out what helps make it happen, but at the same time, nobody can stop it from happening. Nothing can change the infallible Word of God. Not even Lucifer himself, who would love to cause God to lie. For if he could get God to tell one lie, it would stop the prophetic track that we're on. It would prevent him from spending eternity in a lake of fire. If he could stop one prophecy, he can stop all prophecy. And he knows it. And that's why he fights tooth and nail to the bitter end.